In Black baseball history. How's everybody doing tonight? I just want to come on and have a little conversation with you tonight about baseballs. That's what we do here. So I've been coming to this forum here and broadcasting live continuously since June. I think June or July. And so it's I haven't pulled up on 1 year yet, but you guys have been very supportive of this broadcast, and we are pulling up on 796 subscribers, which is the number I'm going for, and hopefully we'll get that by the end of the week because that is my Garrett Anderson number, and that is the number of extra base hits he had in his career. So, guys, if you know anything about Garrett Anderson, he passed away on February 16th, and so and we lost a great ball player, and so I wanted to honor him in some kind of way, so I can continue mentioning his name, and that is reason why I picked this number 796. And I may pick another number related to Garrett so that we can keep it going, right? Talk about him. And so, guys, be sure and look up who this guy was and go back and look at some of his old highlights, and they're definitely out there. So I want to welcome everyone this evening. And of course, you know, if you've joined me before and you want to get into the conversation, guys, just let me know where you're joining from. That's always great for me because I am well traveled, guys, and I might have been in your town, and I can sometimes tell you something about that town, right? So by all means, let me know where you're joining from, and that would be just outstanding, right? So hopefully you had a wonderful day, and I thought maybe I might catch a few of you guys online if you're waiting for your team to pick their NFL draft choice. And so if you're going to jump over here for a minute and then wait for your team's round to come back around, right? And then you can do that. So I don't want to take too much of your time today because, guys, you know I can talk because I've got information galore. And this is from a spreadsheet I started putting together. Man, it's been over 30 years, and so whenever I would find something I thought would be interesting, I would just drop it into this spreadsheet and for later use, and never knowing that this was going to be the later use, right? So here I am still talking about some of these wonderful things that happen and mentioning names that, guys, people are not talking about. There are so many outstanding African American baseball players that get no publicity whatsoever. I'm just happy to be able to say their names. So once again, guys, if you're joining, you want to participate, make sure you subscribe because that allows you to talk. And then also let me know where you're talking from. And of course, if you're sending a message, keep your messages pretty much related to baseball or something surrounding baseball, or maybe something I said. And keep them clean. Keep them clean. That's what you got to do, right? Because we run a top ship here, and I have a number of youngsters that listen to the broadcast, and so we want to make sure that they're getting good information, right? So by all means, now remember, I'm going for the 796 subscriber number. That is going to be my Garrett Anderson number, right? So that is my next plateau. And of course, we've passed several plateaus. If you go back and listen to some of my old broadcasts, you can hear what those are. All right, so let's get busy with tonight's broadcast. And this is the April 23rd, 2026 edition of this ongoing conversation that I refuse to let it stop, and we're just going to keep it growing. So let's go back to Monday, April 23rd, 1900. And Frank Busby died in Benton Harbor, Michigan from a football illness that occurred from an accident the previous fall. And it's just kind of interesting that that would come up tonight on the same night we have the football draft. Isn't that something? And he was an all-around athlete. He had played baseball with the Chicago Unions in 1899 and intended playing with the Cuban Giants in 1900. Of course, that never happened. He passed away in Benton Harbor, Michigan. And I've been to Benton Harbor. I was up there doing a project with some people who produced a documentary on the House of David team. And of course, they were stationed out of Benton Harbor. And so I was up there doing a project, and Benton Harbor is kind of a fascinating place. Have you ever heard of the comedian Sinbad? Sinbad is from Benton Harbor. Yeah, so Benton Harbor, interesting place up there. And I think I stayed in South Beach, and uh, and went down. South Beach was beautiful, and one of the many places I visited. But yeah, I'm one of these regional experts on the House of David, and they were a remarkable touring team, and you can go look them up. And I have to show pictures of the House of David sometime and let people know that these weren't hippies from the 1960s. They were actual baseball players. So that is the House of David out of Benton Harbor, Michigan, and we're paying homage to Frank Busby. You ever heard that name? Look it up and see what you can find on Frank Busby. All right, how about this one? April the 23rd, 1900, still the same time, but different city though. A pitcher named Eddie Joss, Joss, pitching for the Toledo Mud Hens in Toledo. The Toledo Mud Hens, man, that's an interesting name. Defeated the Chicago Columbian Giants. Now they had a really good team in 1880 and 1899. They weren't as strong in 1900, but they were really strong in 1899. So he beat them in a 4-2 game there in Toledo. And Pat Patterson from, well, he wasn't from there. He's really from Starksville, Mississippi. And Pat Patterson passed away in the line of duty. He was a police officer in Benton. Actually, he was in Battle Creek, Michigan. That's where it was. And so he had 2 hits in that game. He played left field. And Josh beat Joss, Addy Josh, beat a great pitcher by the name of George Wilson. And George Wilson struck out 6 and allowed 8 hits, but still lost the game by a score of 4-2. And George Wilson was a great one too. Lefty from Palmyra, Michigan. And oh man, I have lots of stories I can tell you about George Wilson. I will tell you this though. I was talking to a guy in Palmyra who, it's a small city, and the guy, he was like the city's only paid government employee, city government, and he also owned the house where George Wilson lived. George Wilson, his mother's father, lived, and so he was going to tear down that house. And so I was talking to him. I said, "Hey, can you send me some wood from that house? Because one of these days I want to make a frame." And so he went and got wood from that house and send it to me. So I have pieces of wood from George Wilson's house that I want to turn into a frame. And I'm going to do that, and I'm going to share that with you guys. I got to find somebody who's a great carpenter who can put this together and make a frame. I've got a beautiful picture of George Wilson that appeared in my book, A Harvest on Freedom's Field. Maybe I can show you real quick. A Harvest on Freedom's Field. And I want to go ahead and have that picture framed up and put in that frame that I got with the original wood from his house. And you got to think about that, guys. That's pretty special to be able to do that. Of course, when you're looking for something, you can never find it, right? Isn't that how it goes? Yeah, I got lucky. That's George Wilson right there. That's a great picture of George Wilson in my book. Hey guys, if you don't have some of these books, you might want to pick them up, guys. It'll keep you informed. All right then. So let's go here. And somebody says Cool Papa Bell's my favorite player. He was one of my favorite people too. I knew Cool Papa very well. And the great guy, him and his wife Clara Bell. Used to go to their house all the time. Lived on Dixon Street. Now my last name is Dixon, and their street was Dixon, and now that same street is Cool Papa Bell Street, right? Somebody says happy birthday to Andrew Jones. All right, I'm gonna have to look that one up. Happy birthday, Andrew. And somebody said my name is Thedora. Thedora, where you calling from or where you're watching from? That's always interesting. So anyway, Cool Papa, yep, definitely know him. And guys, that's one of the things. I'm in my 46 years as a baseball historian, and you won't find anybody who knows more about this subject. I tell you, you can look high and you can look low, and you won't find anybody. Because not only did I start way before everybody, I've been consistent. And once again, I've had a passion, not a job, a passion. And my passion has made me look at interesting facts, and then just don't stop there. I dig a little bit more, and I visited some of these places. I've been to where Pat Patterson is buried in the cemetery in Battle Creek, Michigan. He's buried in the same cemetery as W.K. Kellogg, C.W. Post. And I know you know those names if you grew up in the 60s, especially watching, what was that, Huckleberry Hound and all that. I'm trying to think, Hanna-Barbera. They were all sponsored by Kellogg Corn Flakes. And so, but yeah, so W.K. Kellogg, C.W. Post. Also, Sojourner Truth is buried in that same cemetery in Battle Creek, Michigan. So, and I went there speaking many years ago, maybe 1994, 95 or something like that. And I stayed in W.K. Kellogg's house as part of that residency when I was there for a week. So, guys, I'm not making this stuff up. You can follow my career, you can go look, but many of these details I'm giving you here are not listed anywhere else. Somebody would love to hear any Coup Papa Bell stories. All right, this is what you need to do. If you go back to when I first started my broadcast, so you have to scroll down to the lives. The first 4 lives I did was about the life of James Coup Papa Bell and my interaction with him. So you got to go way back, just scroll through, and you will find those, and you will find more information that on him that you cannot read anywhere else there. So that is something. So feel free to go back and listen to any of my lives because they say this day. And I do use that as a way to introduce conversation, but it's more, every broadcast is more than just that day. All right. So let's go to another one. I've got so many here today. Let's see. We got Emmett Bowman, April 23rd, 1907. Emmett Bowman, he died early. Great pitcher. He won 40 games for the 1905 Philadelphia Giants. Well, he pitched 12 consecutive innings and tossed an 8-hitter to defeat New Bedford, Massachusetts by a 4-3 score. And that was April 23rd, 1907. Emmett Bowman. Yeah, great pitcher. Not spoken of very much, but he was pretty good. Somebody said, I would do that. Love your books. Have 3 of them. Okay, well, hey, I appreciate that so much, man. I appreciate that, and hopefully I can write another good one, and you can put that in your collection too. And I'm working on some interesting things, right? Yeah, I do have a boxing book I started on maybe about 10 years ago, and then I put it down, and I had 700 pages typed, and it's a boxing book, not about the heavyweight division. It's about the welterweight and the lightweight division and the corruption that was there. And so whenever I get that finished, guys, I think you will enjoy that one too because I do know a little bit about boxing. Actually, believe it or not, if you go and Google his name, my brother Howard Dixon, and he was 22 years, 20, now he might have been, yeah, he was 22 years older than me. Because I was 49. My father was 49 when I was born. My mother was 44. So he was born when they were young. And he was a professional boxer. And then I had another cousin too. Oh man, what was his name? His last name was Lloyd, but we call Terry Lloyd. We called him Terry Jr. He was also a professional boxer. So if you go and look in Boxers Rec, you will find my family's names. Terry Lloyd was the other one. So anyway, I'm getting way off my subject, all right? But just know that there's great information and I appreciate your support. Okay, so let's go to April 23rd, 1910, and this happened in Kansas City, Missouri, with Topeka Jack Johnson's Royal Giants. They scored 15 runs against the Arkansas Travelers, and so the score was 15-0. And Charles Childs of the Royal Giants went the distance and threw a no-hitter at a game played at Shelley Park. Now, if you're in Kansas City, Shelley Park used to be down by what they call Old Kansas City. Now it's the River Market area, but that park is gone. And actually, Shelley Park was originally a cemetery. And so, guess what? They built the baseball field over the cemetery. You can't make this stuff up. And they played in Shelley Park and was a cemetery underneath, right? So they took all the monuments off and made a baseball field. And then later on, they came through with I-70. And I-70 runs right over that same place. So there's people buried underneath I-70 at the old Shelley Park, right? Shelley Park. So he threw a no-hitter on this day, and I bet you never heard of Charles Childs, right? Okay, we're going to keep it going, all right? Let's go to this one. How about this one? This one's an interesting one. This is April 23rd, 1915. Senator Gilchrist, he introduced a bill called the Ball Dodger Bill. and it passed the Senate, and now it was law. So any self-respecting African American, they should have been rejoicing at this, because most of those what they call ball dodgers that would be appearing at carnivals were African Americans. They would pay them a little more money, and people would come and throw at their heads, right? And that's why they call them bar dodgers. So they get a baseball, and there were people actually killed by being a ball dodger. So he outlawed it there. He passed a bill, and the bill makes it a misdemeanor punishment by a fine of $100 to throw a baseball at an African American's head in New York State, right? And it was still legal in other states. So I don't know how much you know about the ball dodger. And usually they would take some African American, usually somebody who wasn't, very intelligent. They would put them up there, give them some money, and say, all you have to do is dodge your ball. But there were people who actually died from that, right? The ball dodger. So look that up, guys. I don't make this stuff up. I just give you information to make you powerful, to make you knowledgeable. And so you can talk to people about things like this, and they don't know anything about it. And so, but look it up, get us a few more details before you start talking about it, right? And I'm going to have to look up and find maybe a ball dodger that died from maybe a fracture or something like that. And then I'll come back with that, okay? So that was a bill passed in New York. Well, it looked like some people up in New York had some sense. But if you get down in Chicago, it was still legal at that time. Somebody said today in 1954, Hank Aaron hit his first home run of his career. I'm glad you mentioned that, because guess what? You know I have it in my list, don't you? Remember I said I keep all kinds of interesting things. So I'm going to jump ahead. Since you brought that up, I'm going to jump ahead. I appreciate that. Okay, here we go. April 23rd, 1954, 20-year-old Hank Aaron of the Milwaukee Braves, a rookie right fielder, hit a sixth-inning solo home run off Vic Rasky in a 7-5 14-inning win over the Cardinals in St. Louis, right? And it was Aaron's first National League home run, and a crowd of 14,577 witnessed the blast. And I bet you they had no idea that they were seeing a legend being born, right? They just saw a good ball player, right? So yeah, I appreciate that. But you're getting ahead of me. I'm trying to keep up with you now. so, so anyway, so I had to jump ahead. So I had to jump from the ball dodger to the ball slugger, right? Okay. So we're gonna jump back. Okay. All right. Here we go. We're gonna jump back. Let's see. We'll go back to April 23rd, 1925. The Atlantic City Bacharach Giants had little trouble in knocking off the York team of the New York, Pennsylvania State League by a score of 5-2 in York. And then Arthur Ratch Henderson. Now, Henderson was reportedly the highest paid pitcher in the Eastern Colored League at that particular time. And he bumped those guys off, no problem. And so they would beat, no, well, let me put it this way. People have tried to track, and it's loosely kept, but how many American and National League teams that Negro League teams beat, right? But I'm telling you what, if you add up the minor leagues, man, the list would blow your mind away. There's literally 1,000 games that I could show you that these guys actually beat these minor leaguers of all kind of divisions, whether it's AAA, A-ball, Class D. It didn't make a difference. They all went down in defeat. Yep. And so, there were some great games played. And I always say this: any guy who played in the major leagues during the 1920s, I guarantee you, at some place. Now, when I say major league, I'm talking about American National League. I guess at some place he played against an African American team at some point, unless he came from the deep South, right? But if he was up around New York, Massachusetts, New Jersey, right? Those guys, Pennsylvania, there's another one. They played against black teams all the time, right? Even way out in Utah, they were playing against black teams, because you had the Occidental team out there, and of course in Kansas City, you had all kinds of teams in Kansas City. I can go on and on and on, because this is my hometown. And Chicago, same thing there. Then some of these guys, they would go straight from the team that they were playing with, and they would do well, and then they would end up in the National American League, never spend a day in any minor league because town ball was so strong, right? So anyway, and the semi-professional baseball, especially around Chicago, man, I'm telling you, it was highly competitive, right? Same thing with Philadelphia, same thing with New York, very competitive, the local team. So somebody says, here's Bob Poet joining from Lake Tahoe. All right then. And yes, AL, NFL players intermix during the offseason. Yep, during the offseason all the time. But there were guys who were on semi-professional teams in and around those major cities, and they would play all the time. But it wouldn't be a whole team. But yeah, so you might get a whole like American National League team either in the spring or the fall. But through the season, you're going to get all kind of guys who played against them. So it's no surprise to me that Arthur Rats Henderson beat those guys. He wasn't the highest paid player in the Eastern Color League for no good reason. This guy was outstanding, right? He ended up retiring in Atlantic City, New Jersey, and I think he worked for some kind of can company or something like that. They produce cans, right? So, hey, they had to make a living, right? All right then. And now talk about another guy. This was quite a player. His name was Robert Jordan. He played for many teams. Um, I pick him up quite a bit on the 1906 Philadelphia Giants. He had a great season that year, and he was replacing who did he replace? Because I'm trying to think who he replaced because they came in. The 1905 team was really strong, and so they lost Bill Monroe and they lost Grant Home Run Johnson. So I think he would have came in there for Grant Home. No. Harris came in there for Home Run Johnson. So he would have came in for Bill Monroe. So he played for Bill Monroe, and he played also first base. And that year, Saul White broke his foot, and he missed a bunch of games. And so Robert Jordan became very important. But he passed away in New York, New York, on April 23rd, 1931. And he is one of the legendary greats as well. Somebody said a great Pittsburgh Courier series of articles by 25-year-old Wendell Smith reveals widespread exposure of black players and teams. Oh yeah, I've read a lot of Wendell Smith's articles, but I'm trying to think if there's another guy that was. I don't have my journal here, but it was another guy that was. He later on became. He was a sports writer at the Courier. He later on became owner of the newspaper, and he was quite the sports writer as well. So, all right then. So let's go down here. See if I have any more that I want to mention. Let's see. I got a couple of that I'm gonna keep for Sunday. Uh, and when on Sundays I come back and I have so much that I can talk about that what I do is I come back with what they call mop up. So I'm going to use this. I'm not going to use this one today. I'll put it as my mop up on Sunday, and then I'll come back with that one. But I will go to the next one. Red Parnell's home run over the right field fence won a 63 game for the Monroe Monarchs versus the Little Rock, Arkansas Grays in Negro Southern League action. I happen to know a lot about the Monroe Monarchs, and they played at Casino Park. Now, what's interesting is the person who helped me the most on that was Hilton Smith's wife. She was from Monroe, and she met Hilton in Monroe, right? And so they ended up living in Kansas City, lived off of Bell Fountain, and I would go over there, interview Hilton, and I would talk to her all the time, and she gave me a lot of insight on what it was like growing up in Monroe and going out to see the baseball team down there. And yeah, they played at Casino Park, and there was a rich white guy who owned the team, and they played down there. And so anyway, yeah, so that's a great legacy too, the Monroe Monarchs. So you might have to look that up as well. Everything I'm saying, guys, don't take my word for it. Feel free to go and dig a little deeper. And that's what I've done over the years. So when you talk about Hank Aaron's home run, the reason I'm able to tell you all of that because I dug a little deeper. I found the article, and then I, as best I could, try to give you a short version of the game. All right. All right. Now, don't forget, guys, we're going for 796 subscribers. So if you can be one of those subscribers, keep it going, right? And that is my Garrett Anderson number. All right, let's see if I have anything else. Okay, well, I got one more because I already jumped and did my Hank Aaron in 1954. So why don't I mention this one from 1952, April 23rd, 1952. In the second game of a doubleheader, Dave Hoskins, the Dallas Eagle pitcher, threw a four-hitter and got four hits himself. Now I'm going to tell you what, now that's a hell of a game right there. You throw a four-hitter and then you get four hits. Now I'm going to tell you what, I've highlighted that before in several books, and that would be guys who came out and they as a pitcher they got more hits than they allowed, and so in this day he just actually tied it. Four hits as a pitcher, gave up four hits, and then had four hits himself. And how about this? He had two RBIs, drove in two men, and he won the game 5-0 over Oklahoma City for his second Texas League win. And Hoskin throws right, but bats on the left. Now I'm gonna tell you what. When I think of this, I'm gonna call his name because I talked to his daughter recently. Um, oh man, this guy threw both ends of a double header four times in one season. Oh man, what is his name? Um, I just talked to his daughter. I need to call her back too. But yeah, and yeah. So and he once again is another guy they don't talk to. Yeah, talk about it. And this guy. Yeah, can you imagine throwing both ends of a doubleheader four times in a season? Both, and if I'm correct, he won every game. So, oh man. Uh, I tell you what, you join me tomorrow. I'll make sure I have his name because I sure can't think of it. And guess what? It may pop in my head before I finish here, right? So somebody said two-way player Dave Hoskins, part of Homestead Grays. Do you know who the other great hitting pitcher was for the Homestead Grays during that same period? Now Ray Brown was a great hitter, but they had another guy that, and I'll give you a hint. When Jackie Robinson was signed by Montreal, he originally went up with John Wright. And then John Wright was sent to Three Rivers, Michigan, which was also one of their teams, and Three Rivers in Canada, Three Rivers. And then they bought up another guy, and this guy had won a batting title in Puerto Rico, and he was a pitcher, Roy Partlow. That is absolutely correct. I interviewed Roy Partlow's daughter, and I talked to Roy Partlow. And the interesting thing, when I talked to Partlow, first when I called him, I can't remember how I got his number or whatever. Um, this is before cell phones, but I called him, said this had to be like maybe 84, 85, 1984 or 1985. And I called him, and he was real standoffish because, you know, these guys have been abused so much, not only by professional baseball, but by collectors and researchers too. So when I called him, he wasn't in a hurry to talk. And then I started mentioning his team in Cincinnati, and which he played for before he came to the Grays. And I started mentioning people like Sonny Sweets Hairs and who else did I mention? I mentioned a bunch of people, and then guess what? Then that softened him up because he knew I knew something if I'm calling those guys who played back then. Josh Johnson was on that team. Marlon Carter was on that team. But there was a bunch of guys that just from Cincinnati. Of course, Porter Moss was on that team. And he knew all those players. When I began to talk about that club, he softened up and we had a great conversation. And if you ever see my 1987 baseball card set, there is a card of Roy Partlow in that set playing for Puerto Rico, and they're holding him up in the air, carrying him after some tremendous game he had played down there. And that is Roy Partlow, and he is in that baseball card set. And unfortunately, I came out with the card set in 1987, and he passed away before he could ever sign one of the cards. And so I know exactly he had to pass away either late '86 or early 1987. And of course, the cards came out in 1987. I will tell you something. That picture there of them holding him up, Kadir Delson, in his book, We Are the Ship, he drew a picture of that same picture of them holding him up, holding Roy Partlow up, but then he changed the face to Willard Brown. This is true, guys. And so I saw Kadir. I said, why'd you change Roy Partlow to Willie Brown. He said, well, people probably know Willie Brown better than Roy Partlow. But the picture that he used was of Partlow. And it's on my baseball card, right? So if you get my baseball card set, that picture of Partlow being held up, and if you get the We Are the Ship book by uh, Kadir Nelson, and you will see that he's modified it to make it Willard Brown. So, guys, that's some of the facts that you won't get from the typical baseball person because they haven't spent enough time with this subject. And so I feel so blessed every day to be able to just sit here and just pop out stories after stories. And Bob, you listen to a lot of them. And and Bob, am I repeating myself a whole lot? Just tell me if I am. Are you hearing new stories? Give me a yes or no. New stories, yes, or am I repeating myself? Now I do sometimes say something. I say you can go back and listen to it because people don't know what's on the other broadcast, right? So, and I don't know who was listening, right? I don't know if they ever heard it. So sometimes I do that. But are you still getting new information? Yep, he said both. All right. All right, then. Well, see, Bob has listened to a lot of these broadcasts. And so, hopefully, hey, Bob, has it increased your knowledge at all to be listening to these broadcasts? That's, oh, you said, oh, yeah. How'd you type that so quick? So, I appreciate that. And I just appreciate everyone who supported me for over 45 years. And I think about some of the people who were with me from the very beginning, excuse me, who now passed on and they're amongst the ancestors. And man, I tell you, without them, there's no me. And and many times, guys, I try to say where I got those stories from because there are people out here. Now, let me just tell you the truth. They're telling stories about the Negro Leagues, but they never tell you where they got them because they just got them out of a book. Guys, I'm telling you how people told me these things. And in some cases, I'm telling you where they lived. I'm telling you about their children. I'm telling you the exact year and everything like that, how I met them. And guys, it makes a big difference. So hopefully, guys, we will get to the 796 subscribers. Hopefully by the weekend. I've got a busy weekend. I think tomorrow I'm going to go see the Michael Jackson movie. So I don't know what time I'll be able to get on tomorrow, but I may have another late broadcast. But we're going to see the Michael Jackson movie and see what that's all about. And and then let's see. Um, we have a senator who's going to be here tomorrow, and just turns out that this senator, no, he's a congressman. He's a congressman, and I had given him a copy of my Negro League book when I was on the pilgrimage, the John Lewis pilgrimage a couple of years ago. So he's going to be here tomorrow. So I'll go down and hopefully get a picture with him. That's going to be at noon time. So I'm going to leave my job at noon, go down and talk to him, see if he remembers me, because I gave him two books actually, and so I'm going to go ahead and see him, and I'll let you know who that is tomorrow, right? So that about does it for me, guys. So somebody says, howdy, Ron. So who we have in here? Ron. Is that Ron? Yeah, that's Ron Hill. Hey, Ron. So Ron was here. I didn't know Ron was here. Ron Hill is kin to Pete Hill, the legendary outfielder from well, he's from several teams, right? But made most of his name with the Chicago American Giants. Before that, the Philadelphia Giants and the Leland Giants, and then he finishes up over in Baltimore. And man, just a great player. So, man, but it's been my honor to talk about all these people. And guys, I'm at 30 minutes. I used to keep my broadcast down to 20. I don't know what's going on here that I'm up to 30 minutes now. Now look, tonight's going to be 35, right? I don't know what's going on, but guys, it's a lot that I can talk about. And with baseball season here now, I have lots more I can talk about because I have all these games and interesting feats. So you get to hear about a guy named Charles Childs, who throws a no-hitter that nobody's talking about. But it gives me an opportunity tonight. So 42 is the record, I think. Okay, let's see. Let's keep it going. 42. What does that mean, 42? 42. I'm not sure what that means, Bob. 42 is the record. Oh, it's 42. I'm not sure what that means. But yeah, so guys, that does it for me tonight. 42 minutes. Oh, man, okay. I don't know how I talked 42 minutes and it wasn't baseball season. I must have had something that was really on my mind that night. So, but I tell you what, I'm not going to go 42 tonight because I've got to go in here and get ready for a big day tomorrow. And I will be on late, guys. So if you are interested in coming on live, by all means subscribe because that gives you a chance to send your message, right? So you can, and when you come on, guys, always let me know where you're joining from, and maybe I've been there. Maybe I can share something with you that to let you know that I've been there, and that's fun for me because I can pull from my memory and see how good my memory is, right? And so I'm still trying to think of that ball player with the four pitched both ends of a doubleheader 4 times. And this was in the minor leagues, and this was after the color barrier was broken. And I am going to think of his name. Now I'm not going to be able to sleep tonight thinking about that. So, anyway, guys, I appreciate you much. Hopefully we're getting close to that 796, and uh, we'll make it, right? Hopefully this weekend. And I've got, if not, guys, I may pop on 3, 4 times on Sunday, just making sure we hit that number at different times, right? And every time we'll have something unique and different. So since it's baseball season, guys, there's a lot here. I'm looking, man, I can probably give you 7, 8 facts every day. So we'll see what happens. So thank you. Have a wonderful night. Let's see, I'm going to answer this last case. You were in LA recently. I played in the park where Satch pitched. All right, you said a marriage park, Fullerton, California, still stands, still used for baseball. That's correct. It's still correct. That park is right there, right behind the school there. So, yep, that is correct. And so I've been to Los Angeles many times over the years. So, always great to go there, and and it's just always great to visit the West Coast and the East Coast. Doesn't make a difference, guys. I go wherever there are people who want me, right? So recently, just the other day, I got a call from Omaha, Nebraska. So I will be in Omaha on Juneteenth, and I got a program for them. I know a lot about Omaha, and so and my programs that are live in person are nothing like what we're doing here. And so, and I tell people, and I'm not exaggerating, I've received over 50 standing ovations and for those programs, excuse me. And I'm going to come out, I'm going to bring my trumpet with me, and I'm planning on playing the Star Spangled Banner for opening day. So I will probably start opening up my talk by playing the Star Spangled Banner, and that keeps me sharp. And I'm going to go downstairs and play the Star Spangled Banner now. So anyway, thanks you guys. I'm probably wore you out for tonight, but hopefully you're enjoying the football draft, and we will be back tomorrow, and we're going to see who my Chiefs drafted since they didn't do very good last year. They probably got the first pick this year, right? So anyway, have a nice evening. This is Phil Dixon with another edition of This Day in Black Baseball History. This has been the April 23rd, 2026 edition of the ongoing conversation, guys, that we refuse to let it stop. Have a nice day and see you real soon. Bye.